Our next speaker, I'm also very excited to introduce. He has become a good friend over the past year and a half. I slid into his Twitter DMs, formerly Twitter, X, and I remember going back to the communications team and being like, "Holy crap, transit guy responded. We're gonna have a call," and now we're like actually friends. So it turns out, yeah, pretty decent guy. So
Thanks. Yeah, really.
I want to welcome to the stage Hayden Clarkin. He's a transportation engineer and planner. He goes by Transit Guy online, and he's built a following of over 350,000 people across platforms by making the case for rail and transit planning. So we're almost there. Not really, but we look to him close. Someday. He is a 2023 Mass Transit 40 Under 40 honoree. He's the founder of Transit Con, and he's a consultant to agencies and cities on network design and transit policy. He's also one of the most effective voices in the country at turning transit advocacy into a digital reach. And his blog, The Transit Guy, is on Substack, and it's a bestseller there. So go and check that out. Please welcome him to the stage.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me? I'm pretty loud. Let me see if this works. Down. Am I doing something wrong? I'm good at transit, not PowerPoint slides, apparently. Does this work? Bill, I thought that was very mean. He was very ageist of you. And it is Mitch's birthday tomorrow, so let's make him feel a little older. Happy birthday, and Mark's, happy to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mitch and Mark. Happy birthday to you. Woo! We were getting ice cream yesterday, and I'm 31, and he goes, "Well, you're Gen X, so you would understand." I was like, "I'm not." He goes, "Oh, well, you're an elder millennial." I'm like, "But I'm not." Anyway, thanks for having me. I really appreciate this. This is my first time in Columbus. I've never been here before, second time in Ohio. If the tornado warning that just came on my phone about a half hour ago means I can't fly out tonight, I'll be enjoying Columbus more. So I'm excited about that. I am coming here to talk about hypotheticals, to give you all a vision on this gloomy day of what rail should look like, of what development should look like, of what great places like Crestline should look like, of what Springfield, Dayton, Cincy, all of the wonderful communities in Ohio should look like. So don't sit here and be like, Hayden just came up with a proposal, we're running with it, all of Ohio's running with it, Governor DeWine was like, yeah, Hayden, great. That didn't happen. So I just want to talk about what if Ohio built around train stations, and not just kind of what if, but what's possible. So please don't hold me to what I'm putting. These are sort of fun hypotheticals to get your brain thinking of what's possible, and then let's reverse engineer back to today and figuring out how we actually got here. Again, my name is Hayden. I am a rail engineer. I am from Providence, Rhode Island originally. Anyone from Rhode Island? Yep, I mean, smallest state, makes sense. I didn't think anyone was going to be here. Cool. So I live in Long Island City, New York. That's Queens, New York boy. Does anyone know what this is? Anyone have any idea where this was? Nope, not Long Island Railroad. The 7 train. Perfect. You're 100% correct. So this is the 7 train in 1917. When it was built, the New York Times said, huh? What do you mean you built a train that comes every few minutes down? Farm, some homes. Today, this is Jackson Heights. Jackson Heights is 68,000 people per square mile. And the 7 train moves everyone from 500 to 700,000 people a day. And it is built in 1917, do the math, it's over 100 years old. And it is still moving 700,000 people today. Now imagine how crazy that would have been in 1917 to be like, hey, by the way, New York Times, in 100 and something years from now, 700,000 people are going to use this. And also, the densest and most diverse neighborhoods in almost the world. I think Queens is the most diverse borough in the world, is what I'd like to say, live along this route. And if the 7 train doesn't run, Queens doesn't move. Genuinely, Queens cannot move. There was one time last week where the 7 was shut down due to a signal problem, and people were like, well, get on the bus. We're like, the bus? There's 2,000 people that are on this platform every minute, and you're asking me to get on a bus. Like, what are we talking about here? So the 7 doesn't make any money. And I know that this is going to be controversial. I know we were talking about transit and profit, and I don't really feel like wading into that conversation fully, but it doesn't make an operational profit. But 700,000 people rely on it every single day, and a borough of more than 1 million people live off of it, develop on it. Property tax levies are levied on it. Commerce happens because of it. And it would not be what it is today. So yes, it doesn't make an operational profit, but I want to talk about that because we want to talk about TOD. So I live in Long Island City. Long Island City under Mayor Bloomberg saw a massive rezoning because Mayor Bloomberg was like, hey, we've got like the 7 train that runs every few minutes 24/7. And like we have body shops and like small restaurants that are abandoned. Like, what are we doing with the existing infrastructure? 2013, same exact view. That's today. This is 15-year difference. This is the exact same vantage point. That's the exact same vantage point. Because people were like, no, that's not true. I'm like, okay, it is. Under the new mayoral administration, they are adding another 15,000 homes to this neighborhood. Not a single linear foot of road will be built to accommodate 14,000. Why? Because you have existing infrastructure. You already have existing infrastructure that is already in most Ohio urban cores, most villages like Crestline, that can take more tax levy, more people who will spend, live, raise their family, and have taxes, and use the same exact roads, the same infrastructure. Now, obviously, we have to make upgrades to utilities and whatnot, but that's negligible over the life cycle of some of these pipes that are going to be here for 50 years. So that's what I really want to talk about, is that we have so much incredible existing assets that are already here. And connecting it via this rail is really the connectivity and the tissue that we need. So does anyone know where this is? Okay, great. I only went once, and my brother did not stop screaming, and my other brother, I have twin brothers, the other one had a stomach virus. So I need to go again. Last time was the Bush administration, so I want to go again. Gen X here, apparently. So this is, as you said, Disneyland. Disneyland is, according to some of these park people who do like analysis on the park, the Main Street USA in both Disneyland and Disney World are one of the highest attractions. Now, I take umbrage with the word attraction about something that looks like this, but I want to talk a little bit more about that. So, yep, Disneyland statistics, 18 million people go to Disneyland. It's 85 acres. It's a beautiful, as the meme, as all the young kids, I'm here, sure, I'm old apparently, so as the young people know, this smart, walkable, urbanist place is illegal to build, right? Where is this? Thank you for saying that. Anyone know? Main Street, it is a Main Street, but does anyone know where the Main Street is? You want to say louder? Marceline, Missouri. Anyone know Marceline, Missouri? You better let him know it, Derek. You better let him know it. That's correct. Marceline, Missouri looks like this today. It was the inspiration for Main Street USA, which is considered an attraction to tourists of all 50 states, because this is the Main Street of today. The only cool, and obviously it's whimsy. Obviously there's people dressed in horizontally cladded clothes with juggling and stuff. So that's not going to just happen on everyday Main Street. If it does, that's kind of cool. But this was the inspiration for something that people cherish today and consider an attraction. And I take umbrage with that. I don't like that. I think that Main Street USA should not be a novelty. It's not a novelty to people internationally who come from Europe, or parts of the Northeast in New England. I'm, from Providence, so like main streets are not foreign as a concept to me, or at least vibrant ones. And so how do we get the delta between these two and realize that this problem is not just an Ohio problem? Yep, so Marceline used to see 3 trains per day on the Chicago to Kansas City line. Since 1997, there have been no trains serving Marceline, and obviously Walt Disney loved trains. And the trains that came through on the Santa Fe line were an inspiration for Walt Disney's Railroad. Walt Disney's Railroad is this kind of a sad fact, actually. I don't know why I'm saying it, but Walt Disney's Railroad actually sees more riders than the Acela does every year. So we have work to do. We have work to do, people. And before you're like, well, Missouri, Ohio, they're different. Listen, I'm not going to argue with you. They agree that it's all the Midwest right there. So this is a percentage of all of the states whose residents think they're in the Midwest. So I'm throwing that little bomb in here as someone from New England and moving on. But the main streets that we just talked about, Marceline, are not foreign to are just specific to Marceline. This is Steubenville, Ohio, where Dean Martin is from. That's what it looks like today in the same spot. And I'm not showing this to make you sad. I'm showing this to make you think of what should we change and what can be. My dad loves fixing houses. I walk into a house, I'm like, we gotta get out of here. Like, we can't, there's no fixing this. And he's like, you don't have a vision. And so think of this as the fixer-upper. And I don't want to be disrespectful to anyone who calls Steubenville, Ohio, their home, the people who live there, the community members, but I believe that everyone would in agreement that like the vibrancy that we once had, oops, sorry, it was a little delayed, and I was not patient. Oh, I should point that way. The vibrancy that what we once had in these places is not just an Ohio problem. Welch, West Virginia, town of I think of 12,000, 14,000 people at its prime, had multiple theaters. It had even called a theater district for 10,000 people. Think of that. Same spot. Same spot today. And there has been much to talk about the lack of investment in these main streets and these urban cores scattered across the Midwest, other parts of the country, but I'm kind of focusing on Midwest as we call it, the Rust Belt. But there's been this focus of like, what do we do with these urban cores? Does economic growth just look like the Target and the Buc-ee's on the side of the highway now? Or can we use these wonderful, used to be vibrant urban cores as a place to do that? And every place I'm showing you right now used to have rail. This is Cairo, again, the junction, the Cairo. I know I said it and I said, oh no. I said, oh no, I'm gonna get corrected in a second. So Cairo, Illinois, the junction of ferry system, a port system, and a rail system, and obviously Southern Illinois has seen a massive decline in population. But we have these towns and we wonder, what should we do with them? And my solution is the same solution that I think of that we should have in Ohio, is that this concept of a satellite TOD. So you would not call transit-oriented development within Columbus a satellite because it's within a urban rail corridor. I mean, Columbus doesn't have rail, but if it did have rail, you think of like the 7 line and what I just showed you in Long Island City. That's considered transit-oriented development. And so transit-oriented development looks different when you are in a different city that is a secondary city. If you're in a Crestline or a Delaware or a Springfield or a Dayton, right? You're not going to say, well, this is transit-oriented development, but in a way it is. And so the way that I think of this is a satellite TOD is that development around a transit node within a 75-minute travel from central economic hub. Sorry, I should put an A. Density. It's concentrated development specifically at the transit hub for maximum efficiency. So Crestline, Dayton, Springfield, for instance, they have a transit hub or a rail station that connects them, in this 4C. Sorry, I wrote 3C. 4C plus D rail line. It's connected, and there's that symbiotic relationship in which Crestline doesn't have to figure out its own economic problems or its own economic prosperity. It's very, very close to Columbus, Ohio, which is one of the fastest growing cities, right? And as Columbus faces its own issues as it can grow, we can use Crestline and we can use Dayton and Springfield as that. I'm from Providence, as I said. Providence and the boom that it's seen from a development perspective in downtown is in no part because of the Providence line and because Amtrak takes you 40 minutes from downtown Boston to Providence. If you are, well, I guess I'm Gen X, but if you're a millennial and you're looking at $3,000 rent in Boston, and Providence is $1,700, and it's a 40-minute travel option, why would you not? And all of these developments have been happening around Providence as a result of it, and it's not just because I think Providence is great and has a great scene, but I don't use the one, symbiotically leeches off of Boston. And for people who love Boston and live in Boston and love hanging out in Providence because it is an amazing cultural arts and food scene, right? And so that's how this works. It's called Hub Overflow. This was made popular before Robert Moses, called the Garden City Movement. The Garden City Movement was actually what Long Island was supposed to be. It's this idea that, have y'all ever seen the movie Braveheart when he's in the central city and then he rides his horse in farm fields and grass and fields and it's beautiful, and then he gets to the next village? That's what the suburbs were supposed to look like. We see that in Italy, we see that in Germany, of these villages that are along and connected by a rail line and a road and a highway, but that's what we were supposed to see. You do see it in Ohio more. In the Northeast, you don't see that at all. It's all connected. There's no green space in between. And so the idea is that you have the central city. Let's just say, I know the population is 58,000, but let's just say, for instance, it's a million people. It's Columbus, Ohio. And then you have Crestline, and you have Delaware, and you have Dayton. And they have their own thing going. They have their own urban cores. They have a quieter life, a less density, but you can connect to all of them in this interconnected railway. That is the goal, and that was the goal of the polycentric region. This is a monocentric region, which is basically everything is focused on this one spot. But then when you're able to extrapolate, you're able to see that you kind of have these regions. Think of your Cleveland up here. Obviously, it doesn't work fully for Ohio, but you could think of Cleveland here. You think of Columbus here. Just say Cincinnati's here for a second. And it's all connected by rail, right? And so you don't have to ever visit, but you could maybe live in Columbus and you want to go see help me out, what's the sports team? Cavaliers? And you want to see those teams, great. Yeah, you want to see sports. So you want to go to a game in Cleveland and you're in Columbus. You take the train, it's not that far, right? Or you want to go to Cincinnati to see stuff. The same thing, right? And so it's this symbiotic relationship that you can get. I love New Haven. The pizza in New Haven's incredible. Yale, a lot of my friends like the museums there. We go there on the weekends all the time because the train's right there, right? And New Haven economically lives off of how close it is to New York, right? We're not trying to just fix New Haven's problems. We're trying to connect New Haven to New York, and what does New Haven do to Hartford, right? And so now we've got rail lines connecting each other. That's what we had before. I'm not coming up with anything new. Every time I propose a rail line, what is happening? Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. That's not gonna work for me anymore. Okay, so I'm about to show something, and Mitch can't get mad at me, and I need you all to promise me. This is me coming up with run times for what rail would look like. This is not Amtrak. This is not anybody else. I don't want to hear it. This is Hayden. So you can blame Hayden, okay? Blame that guy from New York, okay? This is what 4C plus D looks like. Cincinnati, Columbus, Cleveland. This is the run times from a 2001 study. I'm happy. I don't know if I can give it to you and you can maybe post it out or whatnot. But this study was in 2001 of if there are some minimal track improvements using the right-of-way that we've talked about, you'd be able to go from Cincy to Cleveland at a top speed of 110 miles per hour, not 125, not 220. We're not talking about anything crazy. 110. We just talked about the Wolverine doing that in Michigan, and the Lincoln Service in Illinois doing that from St. Louis to Chicago. To, mind you, 2 state-supported routes doing very well and breaking even, if not making money. So just want to put that out there. This is the cumulative time. So Cincy, if you leave at 0, 53 minutes is Dayton, hour and 15, and then you'll see the time between the stations. And I thought this might be easier, but Cincy to Dayton is 53 minutes. Dayton to Springfield is 22 minutes. And let me ask you, Mayor Pitt, if you're in Crestline and you can get directly connected to the Cleveland airport, directly to the terminal in 43 minutes, do you think that would be really helpful for your town economically? Okay, cool. I didn't really come up with anything crazy. Right? And so that's why I'm showing you Springfield to Columbus is 33 minutes. The average commute in the country is 28 minutes. So you can easily live in Springfield and go to Columbus. If California high-speed rail had worked out, that was the goal too, right? Merced has homes for $200,000. San Jose has like a hut for $1.8 million, right? So I'm gonna now live in Merced and take a 30-minute train to San Jose, and guess what? Now Merced gets all the development and they can take the economic prosperity. I'm not gonna talk about, the issues and pitfalls of California high-speed rail, but that is the aim and the intent of it, should it have been built correctly, okay? Cincy to Dayton, 53 minutes. Columbus to Dayton, 55 minutes. Springfield to Columbus, 33 minutes. So if you're in Dayton, you're basically an equidistant from Cincy and Columbus. I do want to apologize, Mayor. I only focus on Cincy to Columbus and Springfield and Dayton for purposes of this, because the focus would have been too long for that time. But I'm happy to talk to you offline about what it looks like. Dayton, cool. Dayton's Union Station saw 66 trains daily. I want to be clear about something. Does anyone want to guess how many trains Amtrak trains Ohio sees a week? How many trains, like how many train trips enter and exit? So if the Cardinal comes 3 times a week, that's 6 because you're doing 2 trips back. Okay. Ohio sees 48 trains a week. Switzerland is the same GDP and sees 77,000. So, are we Switzerland's GDP per capita? No, we're not. But there's no linear coefficient that I can make to make those two numbers work out in any reality. So you might not say that Ohio needs 77,000 trains. I'd like to say that. But if you don't believe that, the delta between 48 and 77,000 is crazy. It's like 76,000 something. Okay. So this is what Dayton's Ohio Union Station used to look like. That's what it looks like today. This is what the head house lobby area used to look like. This is what it looks like today, right? This last train was in 1979. Here is where the head house was, that station was. It is now a road. Now just imagine for a second, the train from Dayton is 53 minutes from Cincy, 22 from Springfield, and it's 55 minutes from Columbus. I argue that it would go from this to this. This is AI, I know, bad, I know, but I could not find any renderings, which was a problem for why we don't have the vision that we need. But this is what it easily could look like at the density. This density is lower than what it is in Providence, and Providence is almost 60 minutes on the MBTA from Providence to Boston. They have skyscrapers there, so I'm not even showing anything crazy. But you're bringing back the vitality of Dayton. Dayton is 29%, its urban core is 29% parking lots, not 29% of its parcels, not 29% of the land that is developable, 29% of the land area of Dayton. This is a parking reform map. I'm sorry, I forgot to give them the credit. 29, yep, woo, for parking reform. 29% of Dayton's land use, of this urban core within the red. I think their urban core could have moved out a little bit given that the station is technically not in it, but 29% of the land area. So let's do some math. This is hypothetical again, disclaimer. The last thing that was built in Dayton downtown is this apartment building called Monument. Monument has 124 apartments. Its assessed value per acre, not its market value, its assessed value per acre is 1.686, well, I should have just done the number out. 1,686,625, okay? Property tax per acre is this. Now, if you assume that 70% of the parking lot became, of the available parking became the same density, you'd add 7,300 units. And if you extrapolate with the Dayton household size, that's 17,281 people. Your new property taxes are 5.8 million. Your new state income tax, the assumption here is that everyone who's there is new. You're adding population, and you're using the average tax filer of Columbus, of Dayton. You get 14.044 million new added tax levies, both to the state and local government. Now, so when I'm talking to you and you say, well, Hayden, the train runs out of subsidy. I say, well, guess what? We just added $14 million here. We're going to add more in Springfield. We're going to add more in Crestline. We're going to add more in Delaware. What's the problem? Current population is 136,000. New population is 153. We added 12% of the population by just fixing 70% of the parking lots. Not even all of them. I left some. Springfield saw 54 trains. Again, same thing. Springfield's last train was 1971. The train is kind of like over here, but I could not, Google would not let me get closer, so it's basically right there. Again, this is where the station used to be. I mean, I'm not like doing copium or hopium here by looking and going like, hey, don't we agree that there's a lot of development area? I mean, I'm not sitting here like being a crazy urbanist. I mean, it seems pretty obvious that there's a ton of land. Again, Springfield is 33 minutes to Columbus, 22 minutes to Dayton, and 75 minutes from Cincy. 75 minutes is still something. In New York, it's very, a lot of people would love to have that commute. New Haven line is the busiest rail line, commuter rail line in the country, and New Haven, I think, is 85 minutes from end to end. So, and that's just to get to Grand Central. That's not even if you have to commit to the subway. So obviously the metropolitan population is different. I understand all that, but the argument that people wouldn't commute, or hey, I just want to go from Springfield to Cincinnati for the weekend. I'm going for a night. I want to hang out. I want to go somewhere. That's not crazy. Math time on Springfield. Again, we're adding 6,898 units. There was about, I did an estimate, there was about 75 acres of available land within the Google map frame. It wasn't too far. The Google map window I was looking at, if you do the math out, that's 17,000 residents. The city property tax you are increasing is 1.3 million. So that's the increase, because there's already, like, parking is already paying like a few pennies per square foot, but they're still paying stuff. They have their own income tax in Springfield, and then the Ohio state income tax. So you're adding $12.5 million in property tax by just doing this. Columbus is growing at almost 10,000 people a year. So the idea that like some of this prosperity cannot be added to these other towns is silly. You'd add 30% of the population. You'd have a 30% population increase if you developed the available lands around Springfield. I don't believe you, Hayden. Okay, that's cool. Oh, sorry, this doesn't really work out that well, but this is what 30 minutes on the subway looks like in the suburbs of Toronto. It is fully surrounded by sprawl, single-family units, Targets. They don't have Buc-ee's there, but like, you know what I mean. Like it's your typical urban sprawl. This is 30 minutes by one single subway stop. This is Evanston. 30 minutes by Metro. I think it's a little longer by the Purple Line, but look how dense it is. This, ready for this? How crazy? Evanston, the density of Evanston, which is considered a suburb by the census, is 14,000 people per square mile. Columbus is 3,600 people per square mile. So the math ain't mathing, right? Because it doesn't make sense that a suburb, and then Nashville's like 1,700, right? So like when you're talking about cities and thing, like the idea that density doesn't look the way you want it to look is silly. This is 34 minutes in Box Hill from Melbourne. This is 45 minutes from Toronto in Vaughan. This is 56 minutes from in Rouse Hill in Sydney. It's not as dense, but it is very well compact, and it has a wonderful, vibrant nightlife. And Rouse Hill mayor said that, over my dead body will you get rid of that train, because the train is symbiotic to the prosperity of this Sydney region. So in summation, we are adding, just on these two stops alone, I'm so sorry, Miss Mayor, I would have done Crestline, 14 million and 12.5 million. So, you know, being able to develop and kickstart these urban courts. And oh, by the way, when I did that, I didn't do like added jobs, because I don't really know how to do that, to be honest with you, of like added jobs, added sales tax, added office space, all of those things. I'm not really sure how you calculate that in a way that feels defensible. But that's just the property tax and the income tax of adding more residents. And so when we're talking about the subsidy of 4C plus D, or we're talking about the subsidy about rail, you know, 47 states do not, their road fees are not paid for by gas or user fees. They are subsidized by the federal government. Now, when I tell people, hey, by the way, you're mad that trains are subsidized, but guess what? Almost all roads and highways besides Maryland and New Jersey are fully paid for by the state. People will go, well, commerce, well, national defense, well, et cetera, et cetera. And that's fine. But my question is then why can't we do the same when it comes to the 7 train? Why can't we do the same when it comes to Amtrak? You know, if the Northeast Corridor doesn't run for one day, that's $200 million in economic delay. So I'm not, and it doesn't make $200 million a day, right? So I hope we can go back when we talk about the main streets and them not being attractions anymore and them being integral to all of our cities, our main streets, our towns, our villages. When we talk about Main Street and it not wanting to be an attraction, I hope we can go from the glory of old Ohio, in which we had cities that were fully urban, dense, productive. Cincinnati, we bring up all the time, had the capacity and did move at one point more than 200 trains a day. It moves 6 a week. 6 a week. If I told anyone, raise your hand if you have a car. Okay, now raise your hand if I said I would give you the keys to your car. Your keys would be available to you at 3 a.m. 3 times a week. And that's all you could have the access to the key. Once you don't get on that 90-second window, you lose the access to the car until the next 3 a.m. 2 days later. No one would keep their hand raised. So why do we think it's okay when you do it with trains? We don't build bridges in this country because we see people swim across a river, right? If we did that, that would be really bad. So let's build Cincinnati and places like Columbus again so that instead of Cincinnati looking like this next to one of the most beautiful train stations in the world, we go back to what it almost used to look like this. This is restoration. This is not me sitting here and saying, wouldn't it be nice if we had the density of Paris or Barcelona or the West End or whatever. This is what we had. This is a historical image. I'm not coming up with anything new. Any train line you come up with in Ohio and go, hey, wouldn't it be cool if a train went from X, Y to Z? It already existed. You are just talking about restoration. There is nothing new. It's not a new idea, unfortunately. So thank you, Columbus. I really appreciate it. Are we doing questions or no? No questions, right? Are we doing questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hayden. I think that everybody found that to be inspirational and probably entertaining as well.